Tales Curious.
Welcome to Lady Teal's Curios. I'm your host, Lady Teal. In tonight's episode, I talk with Patrick Cutler, director of the Redgate film, a movie based on the true mysterious events that have occurred in the area known as Redgate, Montana. If you have listened to one of the Wacky and Weird episodes from a couple weeks ago, you may remember I covered the photo that was released across the web of a bulbous headed alien that was caught on a trail cam. I'm honestly still not sure where I stand on all of this information and these photos being released. I want to believe. There are some unexplainable and very synchronistic events that have happened in this area, and they give me pause. I hope you enjoy tonight's interview with Patrick. Please feel free to submit any questions, comments, or if you have any recommendations for future episodes to ladytealscurios@gmail.com. Patrick, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm an independent filmmaker from Western Montana. Been doing a lot of films lately involving the paranormal, aliens, very weird, strange, high strange instances here in Western Montana, especially in a place called Redgate area. I have a buddy who captured a trail cam image of what appears to be an alien. It's been circulating across the entire globe right now, and basically, right now, I have a film right now that describes all these things that happen in this weirdly, really weird area called Redgate. And I'm kind of just on here to kind of talk about it and see where things go.
How did Redgate get its name? I kind of read a little bit about that on the internet, but I'd love for you to tell everybody how that came to be.
So Redgate, there's a lot of folklore with it. Redgate was a story. If you grew up in Deer Lodge, Montana, Redgate was a story that kids told around a campfire, and it was a story about this mining community that's out of town from Deer Lodge. So Deer Lodge, just get an overview for everybody. Deer Lodge is in this valley with these beautiful mountains in western Montana. And Redgate was up in the mountains, and it was right next to this mining community called Emery. And at the time, back in the day, they had a whole community up there. There was a boarding school, there was cabins, there was everything. There's a little mine there. They all worked out. And Redgate was about this guy that had a homestead up there in the Emery mines area. And one day he came home from working, and he went and he had a wife and two kids. He went home and killed both his wife and his two kids and took their blood, and they saw him the next day taking their blood and painting his gate red with their blood. So that's a true story, Redgate.
Whoa. That's pretty gnarly. Yeah.
And that happened a couple hundred years ago, but there's never been it's never been proven as true necessarily. But that's been, if you were to ask me right now where did they get that story from, I would tell you right now I have no idea. So it's got to be true, right?
Well, there's usually some truth in legends, so
yeah, exactly.
So when I was doing a little bit of research about the area, I did come across a few other crimes and murders and like murder suicides that have happened in that area. Do you think that's all kind of connected?
I do honestly, and I've been doing an investigation on this for the last year or two, and it's very bizarre. I mean, again, I don't know if I said this before, but me and my brother, we run a theater company, theater production company in town. We do a bunch of plays and theater and stuff, and we were doing the play To Kill a Mockingbird one summer, and we had someone who was African American descent was living here, and she was going to play a key role in that play. And she was married to a Caucasian guy, and they were living out of town, and they were living in the Redgate area on this house and everything. And this is hard to talk about, but one day out of nowhere, this guy, they had three beautiful kids. This guy came home one day and was mad about something. He shot her. He shot the kids. he laid down the three kids after he shot them. He laid down her on a bed, and he lit the entire house they lived in on fire. And then when the house is burning down, he shot himself.
That's one of the ones that I came across, and yeah, that's just unbelievable when you hear that kind of news.
It's very disturbing because it's like why would someone do something like that? Like, he was a pretty normal, average guy who wasn't anything different than anybody else. He wasn't from the area, but he had moved into the area, and he just happened to get a house, whatever, outside of town in that Redgate area, and it's very bizarre how that all went down.
It's crazy. So I came across your story about the documentary movie from an article that came out recently about an alien being caught on camera on a trail cam. How did you get in touch with the man who found that footage?
So this is kind of weird. You've probably had the same experience as me. When you're trying to investigate this paranormal UFO stuff, people kind of pop up out of nowhere. So I love the question, though, because he out of nowhere just messaged me, and he's like, I'm going to go on a local TV station today to talk about this. They were talking about, the TV station was doing a story on the Redgate area, and it was about his alien picture and everything. And he said, hey, do you want to come on and just talk about your film? Because I know you've been investigating this for a while. I was like, oh, yeah, sure. So he contacted me, and I went on there and talked to the local TV station and everything about the film and everything. And then I took everything he was doing, and I took that and promoted him a bunch through our independent film and everything else. But his image, though, led to this entire other investigation for me about aliens and everything else. So I have been, if you haven't seen the image, it's such a creepy, weird image. It really is. You should go up and search like Don Bromley or Redgate alien, because this image is very, very bizarre.
It is. So I have to admit, I am a skeptic with that kind of stuff, and I have a lot of listeners who are also skeptics, but they're kind of the variety I want to believe. So when you like show this image to people, do most people kind of brush it off and they're like, oh, it's been doctored, or are most people like, no, that's really creepy, I totally think that's an extraterrestrial?
It's really kind of a mix, to tell you the truth. It's different from everybody that watches it or sees that image. And here's the thing I want to tell people that don't believe it, and there's nothing really to believe or not believe if you, from my perspective, you don't think it is what it is. But here's the true story of the capturing of that image for anybody that is curious. So it was a trail cam. He has tons of trail cams set up all over this mountainous area in Redgate. And the trail cam was set up. And where this trail cam was set up, it's like a trail. So this trail is between private and public land. So to get to this specific area where that trail cam set up, you'd have to go over private land, which is almost impossible because this guy will catch you because of his. He sets up trail cams to catch people that are trespassing a lot for his business or whatever. So it's impossible to get there from private land. If you get there from public land, you have to hike miles and miles and miles to get this area from public land. And this photo was shot at night in October when it's really cold and it's really windy and everything else, in October in the middle of the mountains in the middle of nowhere. So for me personally, this is the weirdest part of it, is like for a human being to be up in this area, it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. At that time, you'd have to hike miles and miles to get this area. For a human being to be up there, there's no hunting, there's nothing up there to do. It would be very, very bizarre for me for a human being to be up there. And then secondly, this is the weirdest part, is so his trail cam, what it does is it shoots images, 3 images at a time. So it goes boom, boom, boom with a split second, like when you cross the trail cam. So you have to imagine this. There's the trail, and the trail below the trail cam, it's uphill. And right where the trail is, again, it goes flat and it goes back uphill. So for the alien to for a human being to cross over this within 2 seconds and not get caught on camera again after that first image, it's nearly impossible. So the most bizarre thing is this humanoid or whatever it was came out there, got caught on camera once, and then the other two images are completely black, split second right after that, and it fried the trail cams. The trail cams they're used to being used for over a year. It fried it completely. So that's why I say to skeptics, like, explain all that.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I have one of the ghost hunting experiences that I have. My camera equipment got fried somehow, and it's like brand new camera equipment. So it reminds me something kind of like that. So yeah, that's pretty crazy.
the energy, it's unbelievable. The energy can do to it. It's just crazy. It's very, very bizarre.
Have you been to places like Sedona before that have like intense energy in those locations?
I haven't personally been to those areas. I just kind of been investigating here in the Deer Lodge area, the Redgate area, just because there's so much stuff here. But it's weird. I'll tell you this. I will tell you this straight up. Like my kids currently live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I live in Montana, and it just happened recently due to a divorce. And I went to before I was going out to Pittsburgh, I just felt so down. It's just so weird. You felt so down, just low energy and all this stuff. I spent 2 weeks out in Pittsburgh and I felt great. I was like, this is so cool. I don't want to leave this place. And then I came back to here in the Redgate area, and immediately my energy levels just go all the way back down. It could take a couple of days. It goes all the way back down to where I was. It's just, you can sense the energy where it's just like, gosh, I don't know what it is about this place, but like, this just sucks the energy out of me.
Do you have any theories as to why it might be like that?
I have a couple theories, and due to I've been doing this folding feature film Redgate, I've been investigating stuff for a while, and one of the parts in Redgate is these are all true stories, by the way, is that originally Deer Lodge, Montana was built on a Native American massacre burial ground. And the story goes back a while where there's a guy named Johnny Grant, and he has this Grant Cars Ranch outside of town, all these different things. And Johnny Grant, the true story of Johnny Grant, though, is he came down to Montana. He came to a place called Garrison, Montana. And in Garrison, he originally settled in Garrison, found in Garrison. It was called Grantsville back in the day, and now it's called Garrison today. And then he went back from Garrison to Oregon area, Oregon Territory at the time. And then he got a bunch of his buddies and stuff, and they went back to Grantsville. Well, at the time, Deer Lodge was called basically Spanish Fork because there's a Clark Fork River running through the town. It was called Spanish Fork, and it was founded by the Métis people, who are split between white European settlers and Native Americans. They're split. So the Métis people had founded Deer Lodge originally, and they called it Spanish Fork. Well, when Johnny Grant comes back with all his buddies from Oregon and stuff, they go to Grantsville, and they say, well, heck with this. Let's go down and found actual Deer Lodge today, which is known as, Deer Lodge right next to Redgate. And basically, this is really, really weird. I've never found an answer to this one question is the Métis people suddenly just disappeared off the face of the map. You never hear about them again. You never hear anything about them. Spanish Fork is gone. They're all just gone. Like, you never hear about them ever again. If you grew up in Deer Lodge too, it's like all white people. There's no Native Americans or anything like that. So it's very bizarre that they just kind of disappeared out of nowhere.
That is bizarre. Let's talk about your film for a little bit. I have so many questions regarding this film because I read one of them is I read that there were several disappearances while you guys were filming. Like, there were things happened to you guys while you were filming. Is that true?
Yeah. There were a couple different disappearances from actors and actresses that kind of disappeared out of the entire equation. It's very kind of weird. They kind of took off. I sent them a bunch of messages, and they never responded or anything. It was very kind of weird. I hope they're doing well or whatever, but it's like they're not reported missing, but they just kind of just took off, and they just didn't reply to my messages or anything else. So that kind of explains that a little bit for you. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah. When you're working on this film, how many stories have you collected regarding experiences in the area?
A ton. I It's hard to go through right now. We're currently in the process of putting together a TV film series on this. Actually, we got a deal in place right now. To tell you the truth, yeah, it's pretty. It's happening really fast, but it's crazy though the amount of stories though I've just collected myself doing this on myself. In the film, there is beyond the alien image caught by Don Brownlee, which is up in the Redgate area. There is another guy who came on. He has images actually coming down. He came home from a local movie in town, went to his house with his kids, stepped outside, and the clouds. There are these white, circular, bulbous things that are flying around in the sky. He started recording them on his old cell phone, so the footage isn't great. Started recording them out of nowhere. It's such a bizarre footage there. There are people that grew up here that said that aliens visited them when they were kids and they abducted them when they were kids in the Redgate area, and they are friends with the aliens. And another story is the Redgate alien that you see on the footage, the trail cam footage from Don Brownlee. A lot of people said that alien, his name is Esteban. And why he is still on camera or here is because he came down from his alien ship or whatever and had sex with a human being. Because of that, he can't go back to his original planet.
Oh, that's horrible. I feel bad for him if that's true.
Yeah, that's the actual story. It's crazy as heck. It's really crazy.
Oh my gosh. So, well, how did they find out his name was Esteban?
I don't know the whole story beyond that. It had to do with the people that were growing up with these aliens and talking to them and stuff, and they discovered his name was Esteban somewhere along the way, I guess.
Crazy. Wow. What's like one of the weirdest experiences that you've had that you personally have had while researching for the film or just researching the area in general?
So I was at a football field one night, and they had the football games here locally in town. I was running down a kind of a hillside a little bit and playing with some friends, whatever. And I saw it was like a white image in the background, like 20, 40 yards away, I would say approximately. And this image was super gray and weird. I could see it just glowing a little bit. And I started running down the hill to kind of chase after this image. I ran and ran and ran. And as soon as I got there, it's like the image just disappeared. It was just really, really weird. But another story though, why we filmed a lot of the stuff for this documentary film or whatever. I was with a friend who had a very reliable vehicle. We were driving up in the hills and everything else, and suddenly his truck just stalled out and just died like immediately in the Redgate area. So bizarre. And we worked on it. We finally got it going again. But the rest of the film, he never had any issues whatsoever. But in that Redgate area, it's just a weird area. So there's a place in the Redgate area where it's like you're like going uphill on the ground or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You park there and you put and this is a lot of teenagers do this in high school and stuff. You put your car in neutral and it's going uphill, and suddenly it'll start pulling you uphill. Like this weird energy where it's really, really weird.
Mm-hmm. They have hills like that. I think across the country, sometimes they're called gravity hills, and they're like optical illusions. But yeah, I've heard of stuff like that before in other states.
This one was 100% aliens.
Oh man, hey, if there's a UFO and it's got me in a tractor beam pulling me up a hill, I am totally there for that. So I was looking at like your theater page and stuff, and it struck me kind of as interesting because like you do the theater stuff, and I feel like this film on Redgate is totally different than that kind of is like.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been talking with my Cutler Brothers Productions family, me and my brother Kelly. I've been talking to him for a little bit about separating the things out because people that go to our Facebook page, and you go to our Facebook page and our Cutler Brothers page and everything else, it really is. We want to do Cutler Brothers Productions where it's like theater and film, but they're not to use the paranormal term here, but they're really two different entities. You know what I mean? They really are. So you look up Cutler Brothers Productions, and the movies are very much in the background. But the truth is, the reason that is because most people that go to our website are looking for tickets to our theater and stuff like that. So
Right.
I think in the future, though, we're gonna separate those out here and make it film and theater or something else.
Did you ever guess that you'd be working on a film about extraterrestrials and paranormal activity?
No, no, and this is the weird thing is like this whole film idea. I was in Alaska. My wife actually divorced me, left me in Alaska, and took the kids and everything. It was I was left in Alaska Village, which is a very bizarre story. But I was up there for years in Alaska, and I was with Cutler Brothers Productions here in Montana for a long time. But me and my brother Kelly, who founded the company, were talking about doing a horror film for a while. So I wrote, this is a very bizarre thing. I'll tell you right now. I wrote I want to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type film on the Redgate area from the original story.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to do. So I was like, I got super serious. I wrote this entire thing. I wrote one sentence. And the sentence was a van. It was from 1979, a van cruising across the dirt road in Montana from 1979. That's what the one line was. So when we shot the film, I wanted the van in there. I wanted an old camper. I just wanted that iconic old camper or whatever in the film. And we worked so hard to get anybody to lend us a camper or anything. The camper we got lended from us eventually was a camper from 1979.
Oh, look at that synchronicity.
Yeah, so that itself was like, wow, that is really weird.
Oh man, that's crazy. So when is the film coming out?
The film will be coming out sometime this year. I'm still working on some distribution deals and whatnot, and taking it through independent film festivals and things of that nature. But I'm going to be getting very, very close to signing a distribution deal here for this film. And do you know what NFTs are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So NFTs. So Don Bromley, who caught this original alien on photo and everything, he went to a guy who pitched him and said, we can turn this alien photo into an NFT. And he was just marking that around or whatever. Yesterday with his NFT deal, he got it in a first original offer. You know how much the offer was for that alien photo to be an NFT?
How much?
$500,000.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we said no.
So
we said no because we already have a contract for a TV series. The movie's coming out, and we just think this thing's. If day one they're offering that, imagine day 500 they're offering.
Right. Yeah. You might have to do like a collectible series.
Yeah, and the guy that owns it, or the guy that was offering it, he's a billionaire. He also owns the original like Bigfoot NFT image and stuff like that. So the guy collects all this stuff, and it's like if he's that desperate right off the bat for $500,000, we're like, okay, maybe we're onto something here.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Bigfoot, so one of the areas that I explored that had a lot of extraterrestrial activity in it also had a lot of Bigfoot activity in it, apparently. Do you guys find that in Redgate, Deer Lodge area?
A little bit. There was a story from my friends though. They were camping up in the mountains outside, right around Redgate, and they had a campfire and everything. And they're sitting there, and all three of them are sitting there with their campfire going. All of a sudden, this huge, gigantic image comes forth, and this image has like fangs. It's hairy, it's everything else. And he told me he just stared at it like frozen for like several seconds. And all of a sudden, the thing just disappeared in the woods. It was really, really bizarre.
Mysterious.
Yeah, really mysterious.
Well, I would also love to know, like, your thoughts on your personal beliefs on, like, extraterrestrials, and because everybody thinks something different about them. I know people that think that they are actually us, but time traveling. Then I have people that think that they are actually from different planets. And then there's others who believe that they're what we kind of call angels and that sort of thing. So, like, what's your take on that?
So I'm a big believer in the multiverse theory, which is multiple dimensions, multiple realities, all those sorts of things. When it comes to extraterrestrials, I think the idea that with our galaxies, the planets, the unlimited possibilities for our galaxies and planets, the idea that there's no other intelligent life out there is pretty much zero. But I think I love the projection though of I love I'll say this, I love the ancient aliens theory that all our technology out of nowhere comes from ancient aliens. I love the idea that we got to the moon out of nowhere. And I'm not like a big moon conspiracy guy. I just think the idea that when we originally got there, I think it's a little bit messed up considering that everything had gone completely wrong. And I do believe to some extent that it could have been shot in a movie studio at the time. And you don't have social media at the time, and you don't have all that stuff. I think you could have easily shot that in a studio and convinced everybody that we landed on the moon. At the end of the day, I 100% believe we landed on the moon. I believe that I can't, the guy from Germany or whatever, what he said was Van Braun or what he said was that someone interviewed him once. He's like, "Yo, how does this happen?" Well, we got help from somebody else. It's like, yeah, you likely did. If it wasn't faked or whatever, you likely did that first landing because you were nowhere. You had people dying in just a basic takeoff, and then like a year later, you're landing on the moon. Yeah, okay. Anyways.
I always wonder how people would react, if like we realize that as a society, aliens are real and they're amongst us, and like, do you think society can handle that, or do you think it would just like everyone would crumble and fall?
No, I mean, unfortunately, yeah. You look at society today, whatever the TV set says, they just follow blindly. A lot of people do. I agree with that concept, and that concept of human nature and human abilities with emotional and psychological intelligence. It's just like if they were to find out that aliens exist and stuff like that, I think that would take a pretty big toll on them. It would change a lot of things, and that's why I think the government's kept a lot of these things secret for so long.
Have you noticed any of the government coming around Deer Lodge area?
Not yet. I'm gonna say not yet, but I fully expect this. It's going to happen eventually. There's so many things there, and again, I keep I don't want to blame myself for it, but I keep digging and digging deeper and deeper and deeper into my investigation to these things, and I want to come down and figure out what's really going on. And the more I dig into these things, the more I go at this, I just feel at some point the government's going to be here and do their own investigation of this area.
Yeah, it's surprising to me. Like, I expected to see some sort of news report, like the government had been there, or they had a secret base there, or something like that. So, because a lot of times when there's the extraterrestrial activity, you hear, something with the government involved. And I was like, this is kind of interesting because this story has no government involvement in it at all.
No, it's weird. And did you happen to see the article in like the Mirror or the Sun Times or the Sun from Great Britain?
I'm not sure. I read a bunch of them. I can pull it up really quick.
Oh yeah, if you want to pull up, just it doesn't matter. I was just curious.
Go ahead and tell me about it.
So yeah, we had this article circulating in the Sun and the Mirror from Great Britain, the two biggest newspapers in Great Britain. It went all around a bunch, and that was the first major article that was reported on this story. So that was about what is this, Friday? That was about 10 days ago. So I think from 10 days ago to now, I think things are starting to happen where it's like the government is definitely starting to take notice from what's going on here. It's definitely something it's on the radar right now. I don't think it was on the radar before that story broke. I really don't. But I think right now this is definitely going to be on the radar. Again, a TV series is going to be shot here this summer. And I think I would say it like this. I think we're in the beginning stages of Roswell too, is how I put it. Like we're in the very beginning stages of that. And very, very interesting to see how things go here. But yeah, the more I investigate everything and the more bizarre and weird things get.
I bet. So that article is called I photographed a bulbous-headed naked alien as the creature ran past my hunting camera in a notorious UFO hotspot. That's the one that that is the one that I came across. It's in my
Okay,
history.
awesome. Excellent. Yeah, that is the article. Yeah. So that is you came across the first major breaking story on this area. And again, yeah, like you said, like the government before probably wasn't looking at this area very much, but it's going to start happening here pretty soon as we continue to move on with the investigation.
Mm-hmm. It was also interesting. So the way that I read the article, I thought this like all happened within the past couple of weeks. Like the alien was seen on the camera within, this year or something like that. But it was within the past couple of years, right? As far as the timeline goes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's hard to get out there when it first happens. Like nobody wants to listen to you or anything. Yeah. It's like, no, that's not real.
Yeah, right? I totally understand. I mean, you go on Reddit and there's people claiming to see all sorts of stuff every single day. So, like, to get your story out there can be difficult.
Yeah, really difficult. But it's crazy.
How has the guy, what is his name that saw
Don Bromley.
Don, yes, thank you. How has this affected him?
Well, his life has been kind of turned over, to tell you the truth, and he was the one that contacted me about being on a TV station interview for my film. And lately, just because I've promoted this so much to media outlets and everything else to say, look, this is bizarre, this is crazy what's happening here. You guys need to cover this. When that article came out, he's been on TV shows, he's been on the History Channel, he's been on podcasts. Again, he got offered $500,000 for his NFT of that alien photo you're talking about. His life's been turned upside down. Now, him, and my brother. Again, we signed on to a contract to do a TV show here, and we're going to do it here this summer. And we're going to way deeper into the investigation of these aliens and stuff. So his life's been crazy since this has happened.
It's very interesting. Has it kind of changed like his view of the world, knowing that he's seen an alien?
I think it has to. It's so weird because I'm a filmmaker and I always go after these things. But Don was just he's a kid that I kind of grew up around, but I didn't really know him that well, to tell you the truth. And he's a guy that he really is a hunter. He works for outfitter, I would say. He works for people that have billionaires that have a bunch of property in Montana. They own tons and tons of land, more land you could ever imagine. And he works for a lot of these multi-billionaire guys, and he has access to all the roads. So what happens is these billionaires, they pay him to set up these trail cams to monitor their property to make sure nobody's trespassing on these lands. Because again, these lands are wide open in Montana, and they could pull open a gate and take their vehicle up there. And if they had a trail cam footage of the guy doing it, they can prosecute them in court or whatever. So he was really honestly just working on these different projects, these multi-billionaire guys, and he would take them up to a cabin, and so people would pay, again, an outfitter, they'd pay him to take them on the ultimate Montana hunting adventure. They pay him to take him on some hunting adventure or whatever. And he came across this photo on one of his trail cams out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere. And since that's happened, yeah, he was going to delete the image, to tell you the truth. Originally, he was going to delete the image, and then he just started showing it to random people. And he happened to have a guy that he was doing an outfitter job for up in Northwest Montana, and they said, you know what, this is crazy that you could do a whole show on this. And they got him on the History Channel to talk about it, and that's kind of where things started with him.
That's awesome. Where do you see like let me rephrase this. Actually, I'm going to go with something totally different that I just popped into my head just now. So what do you think the aliens or entities, whatever is in this area, what do you think they are here for?
I personally think they're here to it's kind of weird. It's an interesting question because if they wanted us all dead, we'd already be dead, right? So I think they're here to influence human life and point it towards the right direction. And you talk about getting into our DNA and things of that nature. But I also think, have you ever played I want to say The Sims or like Roller Coaster Tycoon or something like that, where they're just kind of there. You're just kind of there manipulating like things that are going on and trying to see how we can put these things together and how human beings react and things of that nature. Or do you ever watch The Twilight Zone at all?
Oh yes, one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't go. I know almost every single episode. I'm a diehard Twilight Zone fan. And I think a lot of it here with Redgate is just like that episode, The Monsters of Maple Street.
Okay.
Let's push some different buttons and let's see what happens here. And, not quite like that where like people are going to react the entire time and the town's going to turn itself or whatever like that. But I think they're up there thinking like, let's try some different things, push some different buttons and just see how they react and how things happen or whatever.
Did you ever watch Twin Peaks?
I don't think I watched, is that, I think I watched a movie on it or something like that.
It was like a TV show back in the day and they did a reboot on it, but it has a lot of similarities as to like, it was a small mountain town and then there was like a murder and then all this weird stuff started happening. And it's really interesting, the coincidences. So you might have to check that out.
Yeah, and that's funny thing you talk about that. It's like Deer Lodge, Montana. I know we have the prison here where we always had the prison, but Deer Lodge for a small town, it's like number one in crimes per capita in the entire state of Montana. Like the crimes here and everything are terrible. You look at the population in towns like 2,500 people. Out of town, you do that whole out of town area, it's probably like 7,000 people total. And the amount of crimes and murders and police chases and everything else you see here are just insane for a small town.
Is the town like surrounded by forest and dense trees, or is it?
Yeah, I show you a shot right now, but it's dark right now.
Oh yeah,
but,
no, it's okay. I'm sure I can pull up a.
Yeah. It's hard to describe really because I would say like, where are you from?
So I'm from Georgia, but I live part-time in Georgia, part-time in Arizona, and we travel up to like Wyoming and Montana quite a bit. So I'm familiar with like the landscape of certain areas.
I'll say it like this. Like I grew up as a kid and I was around mountains constantly in Western Montana. If you go to Western Montana, there's mountains everywhere. And as a kid, I just thought that was like how every place in planet Earth was like. There's just mountains everywhere. Yeah. And then I moved out to Pittsburgh and I drove for 2,000 miles and saw absolutely nothing. So, but I've lived several different places the last 12 years. And I would say it's interesting how Deer Lodge is. You almost have like a Paramount Pictures type mountain background on the one side of town. It's very pretty. On the other side of town, you have a bunch of mountains too. So it is a valley, a deep valley, though within several beautiful mountain ranges. The Continental Divide, you can hit if you go way up in the mountains, it's not stone over. You can hit on a dirt road. You can eventually hit the Continental Divide, go over that, and come down through another dirt road, and eventually hit the highway again. So you can go through the Continental Divide up here if you want to.
Cool. The reason I was asking about the terrain kind of was, and when we stayed in the Redwoods in California, there was, they said, I don't know if this is like scientific fact or if this is just local legend, but they said that the redwood trees would produce like an acid almost, and it would make people really depressed. And because like if you live in the forest, you had to force yourself to go out and go to the beach and get some sun and everything because of that natural like acidity that the forest was producing. So I was just wondering if maybe there was like something in the air, that is making people go crazy, or maybe it's like what you said before and it's all this being buried on top of or building a city on top of where Native Americans were massacred, something horrible like that.
I think it's kind of both, to tell you the truth, because I lived in Alaska, and Alaska has a terrible suicide rate. And when it goes dark in Alaska, you can really kind of feel it, but it almost have the same feeling though here in Deer Lodge here, Redgate area. When it goes dark, it's just different. It feels like just this darkness kind of overcomes you, and I don't even like dislike the dark. I like the dark personally because that's the type of person I am. I don't like the sun 24/7. When I lived in Alaska, I would come to Montana during the summers because I couldn't stand the sun 24/7 in Alaska. It just drove me nuts. But it's similar to Alaska where when it goes dark, you could feel it. Like most things that go south happen in the dark or in the spring. The reason they said in Alaska why a lot of suicides happen in the spring is because people's lives are so dark during the darkness in the winter and everything. They think everything's going to turn around once it hits springtime and things get light. Then things don't change for them in their lives, and then they become ultra depressed, and that's why they commit suicide, which is a very weird way to look at things.
That's interesting. Sorry, that took me back a minute because I personally have never been, close with anybody that committed suicide or anything like that. So, but like just thinking about how the brain kind of starts turning on itself like that is very perplexing.
It's really weird. If you grew up in Deer Lodge, you know multiple people that have done it. We had a head wrestling coach, head football coach do it. We've had friends that have done it. When you live in, and it was weird living in Alaska when I lived there for like 10 years. I was like, oh, Alaska leads the whole country. Montana can't be close. And then I look down to Montana and it's like, they're like second by like 0.5 or something.
That's crazy.
It's just, it's crazy the amount of suicides when it comes to like Western states, northwestern states, I would say, like Montana, Alaska. It's just crazy the amount of suicides compared to other states in this, like down south. It doesn't even compare. Like compare Florida rate per capita to like Montana, Alaska. They're not even close.
What do you think can be done, if anything?
I think, and again, a place like Montana and especially Alaska, Alaska has gone all in on suicide awareness. It's hard because of I would say it's hard because of human nature. I mean, what do you do sometimes? Like some people reach out or they want help or they say I'm depressed or something like that. A lot of people, I'm going to tell you the truth. A lot of people are just kind of be like, okay, whatever, not a big deal. And they just kind of ignore them or whatever else. Whereas, other people like their best friends or parents or something will actually listen to them. So it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know how you prevent it necessarily. I'm not a big person on gun control. I know that I had a cousin in northern Idaho. I was in the middle of a flight from Alaska, and I landed another place in Alaska. And the first phone call I got randomly was that my cousin, northern Idaho, completely out of nowhere, he was probably one of the 0.2% of suicides aren't explained at all. Took a gun outside, walked outside, took a gun to his head, and just blew his brains out. So you can always say that, guns, less guns and stuff that can probably prevent suicide, but that's not an end all be all. I really don't know when it comes to suicide and depression and mental health. The one thing I'd say about COVID-19 that has done some positive things, I think the focus on mental health today is much higher than it has been in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I also think like the work culture shift that we're experiencing with people going more remote, I think that is a great thing. I know some people probably aren't crazy about it because they don't get the social aspect, but I do think like that whole shift is super positive.
Yeah, and again, this Redgate film and all the stuff we're doing right now, it would not exist without COVID-19 because I had a completely different plan on life and things put me. It's weird. Like it's kind of funny to think about it. It's kind of weird though to think though like it's great that I'm doing this stuff, but there's such a dark aspect of it that you feel it every single day. It's like God, I want to finish up this TV show, the film. I want to finish it up, and I honestly just want to leave eventually because I can't stand. I can feel it every single day. I don't know if you've ever felt this before. When you're doing an investigation on something dark, aliens, UFOs, paranormal, when you continue that investigation over a long period of time, you can feel that darkness inside of you, inside your soul, almost, I would say. You can feel it every single day. It's just like, all right, I'm going to finish this up and then I'm done with this stuff. And then before you know it, I'm going to be the UFO guy for the rest of my life.
I would kind of liken it to something feeding off of you is the way that I've felt that kind. I think that's what you're talking about. That's what I felt before is like if I'm researching or going down a rabbit hole super deep and it's, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of mystery, a lot of darkness involved. It feels like it's just feeding off of you the whole time.
Yeah, and that's why I would hate to be like a detective in the United States or whatever, because that would just be terrible to deal with that every single day. Yeah.
So we're almost out of time here. Just wanted to quickly go over a couple more things. And in your research, have you come across anybody else who has seen anything, like any alien activity, or has seen that same bulbous-headed creature?
I haven't contacted or I haven't been with anybody that's seen that same creature, but I have been with several people. The person that saw the big bulbous UFOs in the sky took his kids home from the movie. That was one. But I have several people lined up, but during the production of this film and everything, they have not accepted being on camera, and they didn't want to be on camera, and they didn't want to talk about it and things of that nature. So I reached out to a lot of those people, and they just haven't gotten back to me. And that just tells me there's a lot more to uncover here because I have so many stories. But that's the other point you gotta realize is of the stories reported, how many of the stories do people just don't want to talk about or mention or deal with at all? Because a lot of people they're really freaked out about this type of stuff.
That's what I was going to say. If they're not wanting to come on camera, it sounds like, maybe they're afraid that people are going to make fun of them, or there's some sort of, they don't want to talk about it for a specific reason. But obviously there's something there to talk about because like usually the ones who are like a little, skeptical about coming on, they're the ones that have the good stories.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. The ones that are the most skeptical are the ones that have probably the best stories. But I think it spooks so many people out there. They just don't want to come on here and talk about it.
I wonder if they think that if they, start talking about it more, that it will make more things happen.
Oh, without a doubt, it blows it up. That is a psychological thing for sure. If you talk about it, then it goes from just being something in your head or something you saw to much, much bigger than that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. To close us out, do you have any other like crazy last minute stories that you want to share, or anything that you want to impart to people who are listening if they decide to visit Deer Lodge?
So I'll end with this one story here that answers both questions. There's a story about a lady that worked in a local gas station here. The gas station, because of this incident, is no longer in operation. She was a nice old lady. She's a very, very nice lady. She was very cool, such a nice, beautiful lady. And her husband was a little bit odd, a little bit different or whatever. One night, she goes home from work in the gas station. She sits down, and her husband hits her over the head with a blunt force object, and then takes a knife and stabs her 76 times in the chest. The next morning, the husband walks to the police station covered in blood and goes to the first person he saw and says, "I just killed my wife." That's a really bizarre story out of nowhere that doesn't happen in most small towns. And I would say there's more stories I could tell, but we'd be here forever. But,
well, we also want to wait until the movie and the TV show come out. So.
Yeah. So what was your second question?
So if anybody wants to visit Deer Lodge, do you have any, do people welcome tourists to that area, or would you say stay away? I wouldn't risk it.
So for the record, it is a very touristy town during the summer. There are people we have the old Montana State Prison, which is built right on the cusp of town. So most people come to old Montana State Prison because basically you pay like a pass for the prison, like $6, whatever. And you can basically go through the cell blocks and do anything you want to in the old prison. It's a really cool experience. We used to do theater inside the old prison. We have had, we have a theater here. We had professional actresses and actors come through here. And so many of them, if anybody's have you seen the movie It by Stephen King?
Yes.
Yeah, great film. So many people that have come through, actors and actresses, that would describe Deer Lodge, Montana as the Western version of Derry, Maine. It just has that eerie, weird vibe to it for no reason. It's very strange, high strange area. But yeah, I would recommend come visit Deer Lodge and check out our theater company. When you come see our theater shows, and we're in operation in the summer, sometimes during the winter, really good shows. But it's a great place to visit. Like there's so much stuff you can do here. The mountain we have a Paramount Pictures mountain right over our town. It's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. There's so many things you can do. There's so many lakes above the mountains that you can drive up to on 4-wheelers or hike up to. There's so much stuff to do here that's very, very cool. So I would honestly recommend anybody coming here. But just know that it's a very high, strange area. Not only with the UFOs and the paranormal, but with the old Montana State Prison. There was a riot back in the 70s where a bunch of people were killed there, and there's a lot of haunted stories from the old Montana State prisons. There's a lot of things. The Native American burial ground. There's so much stuff here that is high strange. It's worth checking out yourself. But yeah, I'd encourage anybody to come here and visit.
Awesome. Well, speaking of the prison, I know you said that you have a podcast, and if you wanted to plug that, you can go ahead.
Oh, yeah. We have a podcast called the Prison City Podcast, me and my buddies that grew up in Deer Lodge, Montana. And we cover Redgate and we cover aliens and UFOs. Not every episode, but a lot of them we're covering are horror films that we're working on and stuff like that here. It is based in Deer Lodge, and you should check it out, Prison City Podcast.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for coming on today and talking to me about all this weird, creepy stuff.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I love it. And I will... do you have like social media channels that you wanted to share as well? I don't think I asked you that.
When it comes to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything, just search Patrick W. Cutler. Or if you want to hear any latest updates on the Redgate film and alien investigations and stuff, hashtag it Redgate film. Again, hashtag Redgate film, and you will come across everything I've been doing for the last year or two. So very exciting stuff.
Great. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing that when it comes out. I am very anxious to see the visual representation of all these stories.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And until next time, stay curious.